Greetings and welcome to Reach Your Dew Point. I'm Roy Atkinson. Nice to be back with you. And with me today is the inimitable Shep Hyken, the customer service and customer experience expert. He's an award-winning keynote speaker, a New York Times bestselling author, a musician, and a hockey aficionado. And Shep is an all-around great guy, and it's great to see you again, Shep. Nice to be with you.
I like the way you use the word hockey aficionado. You did not rate my level of play. Although today I had a good day. I actually played this morning and scored a goal. But
Yay!
The average age of our team is much older, so we move slower. It's so much better.
That's that's a good way to approach things. I guess if you get the rest of the team to have some disadvantage, there you go.
Well, it's so good to see you. It's been a long time, and I'm excited to be part of this show. Thanks for inviting me.
It has been a while, sir. And I was just thinking the other day about meeting you in person for the first time. It was at a little hors d'oeuvres party at Ron Munn's suites in a hotel where there was a conference. And I think it was New Orleans. Yep. Mm-hmm. And there were some folks there who knew me and knew you. And they said, "Oh, how long have you guys been hanging around together?" And it was the first time we'd met, although we'd known each other online for a long time. And they were talking, "Oh, we never met." What? You've never met?
So I'm going to test your memory. Do you remember how we met?
Originally?
Yeah.
Online?
Yeah.
If it wasn't the customer service chat, I'd be surprised.
Customer service chat.
Okay.
The evening chat.
Yep.
Remember that?
Tuesday nights
on Twitter.
Yes, sir.
Formerly known as Twitter. It's like
X, formerly known as Twitter. You are correct. That was and that's still going. Greg Ortbach and Marcia Collier are still doing the chat. Yep.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yes, sir.
I think we may have to jump in and surprise them.
Yeah, we should. Conspiracies. So, my question, of course, revolves around the dew point and that decision point, that action point that people reach at some point and step off. And so when and how did you decide that this customer service, customer experience stuff was going to be your focus in your life's work?
I could tell you part of it is I didn't have another job. And you can laugh at that, but we can go back further to the age of 12 years old when I started my first business, which was a birthday party magic show business. And after my first magic show on a Wednesday night, Wednesday late afternoon after school, that evening, my mom said, "What are you going to do tonight after dinner?" And I thought homework would be the correct answer for a school night. But she said, "Not until you write a thank you note to the people that just hired and paid you that money to entertain their kids." Great idea. My dad said, follow up a week later, call the parents after they received their thank you note, ask them if they were happy, get feedback, find out what tricks they like the best. And if they don't talk about tricks over time, you'll notice patterns like people don't talk about that one trick. Get rid of it, because if they're not talking about it, it's not standing out. Make your show better. And I had no idea that was customer appreciation, getting feedback, voice of the customer, and process improvement, learning all of that at the age of 12. Now, that was then ingrained in my brain and throughout my entire working career in high school and college. And I continued to do magic shows, of course, and I worked in nightclubs and I worked corporate events eventually, but I also had regular jobs. I pumped gas, and I remember a very cold day pumping gas for a lady, and we're a self-serve gas station, but I told her, stay in the car. She was feeble and older, and I'd seen her before. I said, I'll pump your gas. My manager actually got upset with me for pumping this woman's gas. And she goes, now she's going to expect it the next time. I go, well, that would be great, because there's a gas station across the street and one on the opposite corner. Maybe she'll come here instead of there every time because of the way we treat her. I was like, 17 years old. What did I know about that? And when I think back of those types of moments, and I had a number of them, I realized I was loving this long before I decided to actually do it. When I got out of college, I saw a couple of motivational speakers, Zig Ziglar and Tom Hopkins. They talked nothing about customer service or experience, But I saw what they did, and I thought, with my entertainment background, boy, I could do that. I'm going to write a speech about customer service. And that's where it all started. Way, way long time ago, decades ago.
There you go. And it's interesting how we see those lessons happen in front of us while we're working. I mean, you've heard me talk about the world's busiest supermarket where I worked as a kid, and some of the lessons I learned from the guy who owned the store, and just it's an amazing line of work if you get into it, no matter whether you're doing a call center or retail experience, whatever it happens to be. You learn so much from that customer interaction and
Yeah.
the interaction with your bosses. It's an amazing world.
And I think
So
what I by the way, what I learned, and I want to emphasize that today, and I'm going to go back to 1972 when I was 12 years old. You can do the math. 72, that was what, almost 50 plus years ago. I will tell you this: the lessons I learned about customer service apply today. And that's why I jokingly say nothing has changed in customer service. We want to make that
mhm.
customer feel appreciated. We want to listen to what they say. We want to act on the feedback. We want to make a better experience, hence process improvement. And if you look at what customer experience is all about, is creating the experience that gets people to say, I'll be back. If you look at customer service from the standpoint of support, it's about an upset customer wanting to be happy when the interaction is over. And that was the way it was thousands of years ago, and it's the way it's going to be thousands of years from now. By the way, proof of thousands of years ago comes from an artifact in the British Museum, which I wrote about this. I don't know if you've seen the article, that
I
there's
did.
actually a complaint letter engraved, chiseled out of stone, that was sent to a copper vendor for copper ingots, and this customer was unhappy and was asking for some type of compensation. This is a complaint letter. And that's their version of social media or reaching out on a text message or whatever. It's crazy.
Right.
Nothing's
And
changed.
when I read that article, by the way, that you wrote about that, I envisioned somebody, it's probably a servant of the person who wrote the letter, walking up to the copper vendor and tossing the stone at the person's feet, boom.
Read this. My
Uh,
boss wants his money back.
yeah, absolutely. And that brings me to a question. I think we both know that many companies and brands, or whatever you want to call them, organizations, still think customer service is an isolated department. It's somebody else's job. That it's just an expense. It's a cost center. It's an annoyance. Get those customers away from me. I don't want to have to deal with them. So, what, in your experience, does it take to get an organization to reach its dew point on customer service and customer experience where they decide that this is the right way to go?
All right. So, like 7 questions in that one question, because,
Yep.
first of all, customer service is not a department. Customer support is a department. Customer service is a philosophy that's ingrained in the culture and needs to be practiced and thought about by every single employee in the company, from the people on the front line, all the way up to the CEO, all the way to the people behind the scenes that never, ever experience direct contact with customers. It's philosophical and cultural. Okay, so we'll get that out of the way. The second part is customer service or support a cost? And the answer is, it's a real good big cost if you don't do it right. It actually pays when done well. You can actually track what the ROI is in taking, don't take care of the customer, see what happens. They leave. Take care of the customer, see what happens. They may stay. If you do it the right way, they actually have more confidence in you than if the problem had never happened before. And therefore, they not only come back, but customers that become repeat customers on a regular basis, not even truly loyal customers, will actually spend a little bit more. And if they are loyal, they'll spend more, and they'll talk about you to their friends, their colleagues, and they actually end up referring customers to you. They become your advocate. So if you look at, I had a great opportunity recently to hang out with Fred Reicheld, who I've known for years, but we actually were together and spent some time together, and we were on a panel together. And he really is NPS, Net Promoter Score. That is what he came up with at Bain and Company, I don't know, decades ago, probably in the '80s, I'm thinking, is when his first book, The Ultimate Question, came out, or something to that effect. There were The Loyalty Effect and The Ultimate Question. I'm not sure which came first. I have them both in my library. Still today, I believe they're valid. Fred, however, says people are misusing NPS and it's no longer giving people the value that it once did because it's misunderstood. He goes, so maybe with surveys being, and boy, am I going down another project or rabbit hole here? I think it's important that we say this, and I am. But surveys are becoming very difficult to get people to fill out, to respond to, et cetera, et cetera. And there's new ways using AI to track customer behavior, which is actually almost better than the survey. But here's what Fred said. 9s and 10s on the scale of 0 to 10, what's the likelihood that you would recommend us? Fred still believes that the willingness of a customer to recommend you is the highest compliment that a company can get. All right. A score of a 9 or a 10 indicates they might be willing to recommend. But those surveys today are filled out by the extremes. People either love you or they hate you. You might get 5%, maybe 8% back. If you're lucky, you'll get more if you do it right. But anyway, the point he's making is that sometimes people just give a high score because they don't want to get somebody in trouble. Sometimes they get a high score because they've been given an incentive to fill out this short survey. And you feel guilty if you give them a bad grade simply because they gave you a free gift card to Starbucks in exchange for your time and whatever. Anyway, his point is the new measurement should be, where is your business coming from? Is it coming from repeat customers or new customers? That will tell you a little bit about your churn. And is the new customer that's coming from your personal brand's marketing efforts, or is it coming from other customers who love you and recommend you? And if you're getting those recommendations, oh my gosh, it would be an ultimate goal to say every customer that walks through my door, number one, I want them to come back. Number two, I want them to refer at least one customer to me. Isn't that a great goal?
It is. It is a great goal, and it's, word of mouth has always been extremely valuable, as you know. And if you had a good experience or a bad experience, you had in the days when we talked to our neighbors over the backyard fence, as it were, we talked about stuff like that. We had a good experience with the grocer down the street, or we had a bad experience with the grocer down the street, and people still do that. It's just that the medium of doing that has certainly shifted and become
Right.
more
Yeah,
widespread.
amplified. But to your point, Roy, does customer service or focusing on customer experience cost? The answer is there is an expense that has a dividend that makes the expense become a profit. The other thing you asked, Roy, was about how does a company decide they want to embark on this and what do they need to do? And I mentioned that it's a philosophy and it's in the culture. Where does that start? It starts at the very top with leadership, defining what that vision is for customer experience. And many companies have been smart and said, we've got a vision, values, mission type statement. Somewhere in there buried is usually a line that defines what they want the experience to be for their customers. They've extracted that line and made it stand alone as just a simple experience vision or service vision. The Ritz-Carlton, my favorite example, 9 words. We're ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. That's an internal focused statement that, by the way, happens to be known by many people out in the public because they don't hide it, but it's meant to be internal and it's their philosophy. Ace Hardware, on the other hand, has a great 4-word mantra, if you want to call it that. They not only use it internally, but it's also external, and that they've used it in part of their taglines in their advertising, and that is the helpful hardware place. Helpful is the key word, and they actually certify associates in stores all over the world as ACE certified helpful. So helpful is like their whole mantra. And when I had a chance to work with them, and I actually wrote a book that featured them as a case study through the entire book, one of the things we landed on is when the CEO of the company said, we don't just want to be a great hardware retailer, we want to become known as the most helpful retailer in the entire world, regardless of what anybody sells. That's a pretty lofty goal, but I think what it does is it allows you to really focus on your industry, because you're looking at a bigger picture saying, I want to be the best in the world, not just best in class. And when you do that, your customers within your industry experience the benefit of that way of thinking.
That's a great way to put it. And As a customer, I mean, we're all customers at some points in our life, many points in our lives. What should customers know about having a less than satisfactory experience? What can we as customers do about it in a helpful way? How do we make our sentiments known without just coming out and screaming at somebody?
Yeah. A great question. I know we were going to talk if we had time about my annual research. And in
Hmm.
research that I do, and by the way, it's free, it's available. You just go to my website, hyken.com, Hyken, click on the research tab. You download it without even needing to put in your email address. So we made it easy for you. So I don't track you. If you want to join our newsletter after reading the research and you think it's worthwhile, go for it. But anyway, I digress. Where was I going with this? Oh, yes. Social media, which is where the customer rants and sometimes raves, ideally, about the service. The rant is a complaint. Why do people go there? So I had a client, big client, huge client, multi-billion-dollar company, and they were getting ready to invest millions of dollars in social media customer care. Now, Roy, you and I both know that customer care on social media is a valid channel. Okay. But when I asked them why they were now getting ready to do it, this is in the last year or so, they said, we're seeming to get a lot of our customers going to social. Well, of all the channels that customers choose, social media is the least used channel. And by the way, even though it is least used, it is actually, of the customers that use it, the younger customer uses it primarily. Okay. So anyway, I just share that with you. Here's the reason customers were starting to use social media for this particular company, because they weren't getting the experience they wanted through the other channels. They were being forced to
Hmm.
wait on hold. They got somebody who didn't
Hmm.
understand them and kept transferring them. And they finally decided to go public with their rant and decided, maybe if I scream it out on social media, I will get people to respond. So, that's what we need to worry about. And I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that's what's happening when they rant. It's oftentimes because they didn't get what they wanted the first one or two times they tried. And oftentimes those complaints are valid, but they become fueled with gasoline that, in this particular grade of gasoline, it's called anger.
Yeah,
91
absolutely. And
octane anger.
yes, sir. And uh, I've had those experiences where I tried to correct a misperception by the company that I was dealing with. They thought that I had canceled something and was due to return some hardware and were going to make me pay for the hardware. And I had not, in fact, canceled the service. I still had the hardware. In fact, I was talking to them using the hardware that they said I should have returned. And I tried their contact center. I tried to their chat system, went to social media, and the whole thing was resolved within 10 minutes. And a lot of times the
Now,
social
by the way,
media,
when you went to social, did you complain like an angry customer? Or did you sincerely ask for help? Was it like it was a second or third attempt? It sounds like.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
what was the tone of that message to them?
I think I said something like, I cannot get the contact center to understand what's going on here. Maybe you can help me.
Okay, well, that was very friendly.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a friendly
relatively
request.
so.
Yep. So my
But
daughter recently ordered something, and I'm not going to tell you the brand. That I don't ever talk poorly about brands, except for this one. No, I'm just kidding. And she ordered something very expensive, pair of shoes, and it showed up, and the box was wrapped, but it was empty. So she reached out to the company and said, I picked up the box. It felt very lightweight. When I opened it up, it was gone. She goes, somebody must have stolen the shoes. And this is what they said: not our problem. You need to file a police report. And it's like, wait a minute, wait a minute. And the moment she said it was maybe stolen, I said, did you say it was stolen or it could have been stolen? She goes, I don't remember. I said, call them back and say, it might have been stolen, but maybe it left the warehouse empty. Now maybe it becomes their problem. She couldn't get anywhere. She was so frustrated. So I finally said, I want you to do something. She was going to go on social media and blast them. I go, don't do that yet. I want you to reach out to the company, get a phone number for the headquarters, and call and just ask to speak to the office of the president, not the president of the company, just the office of the president. They'll probably connect you to somebody. That person's job is to make sure you never talk to the president. And that means they will probably take care of you. Now, if they don't, go at the social media. But before you do that, even go direct message to the social media and say something like, I was going to post this publicly, but I thought I should give you a direct message to let you know how upset I am about what's happened. Bullet point the story. And guess what happened? Almost within an hour, she receives an email. We are so sorry. A refund is on the way. And by the way, my daughter had already ordered a second pair of shoes from them because she really wanted the shoes. I don't know. I just think sometimes companies make it very difficult to want to do business with them. And here's why I want to use something. I talk about amazing companies, and I want to share this with you. Amazement isn't about over the top blowing people away. You do have a chance to do that when there's a problem. I call you up and I go, my shoes, I got the box. It was empty. Oh my gosh, I need them this Saturday. And the person on the other end of the phone says, I can't believe we sent you an empty box, or maybe it was stolen along the way, but not to worry. We're overnighting you another pair of shoes. And the story ended. And what happened? They went above and beyond. But if I simply manage the expectation that the customer has, I'm friendly, I'm knowledgeable, I'm helpful, I give them a good experience. What we want our customers to say is this: whenever I interact with them, they're always so helpful. They're always so knowledgeable. They're always friendly. And here's the big part: even when there's a problem, I know I can always count on them. Always followed by something positive is what we're looking for. And as long as we don't have problems happening again and again and again, when we teach customers to let us know about the problem, I call that a demanding customer. When we let them, we actually ask them, please tell us, make us do the work to make you happy. Because if you don't tell us, we're not going to know. And when we create that level of a demanding customer, it's not one that whines and complains. It's ones that we want to give us the feedback and tell us when we can improve and what we can do to retain their business. When that happens, we're operating at the level of amazement.
And there you go. Thank you, Shep. It's great to see you again. Great to talk to you. I hope we cross paths again soon.
Sooner than
And
later. It shouldn't be this long.
yeah, I know. And I certainly advise our listeners to get over to Hyken, HYKEN.com, download the latest research, check out Shep's books, and catch him at a keynote at a conference you attend. He's always great to be around. Thanks so much, Shep, for being on the Dew Point podcast.
Thank you, Roy. Great to be here.